Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Survivor Fitness Summer Nutrition Series. I'm so glad you're here. This summer series will be a three-part video series called Meal Planning Without the Overwhelm, with a live Q&A session at the end of the three recorded videos. This series is all about simplifying nutrition for real life and helping healthy eating feel more manageable with busy schedules. So, if meal planning or nutrition has ever felt overwhelming, stressful, complicated, or impossible to stay consistent with, first off, you are absolutely not alone, and this series is for you. This series is here to help you build simple habits, reduce the pressure around food, and create routines that actually work in your life and for your lifestyle. My goal is to help you move away from the pressure of doing nutrition perfectly and toward practical strategies that actually fit into your life. Before we dive in, I want to briefly introduce myself. My name is Julia Clover, and I am a registered dietitian based in Michigan. I currently work in the private practice setting where I work one-on-one with clients, helping them to support their health and nutrition goals. I also work alongside Survivor Fitness, which is why I'm here today and doing this series. I'm licensed in Michigan, Tennessee, Indiana, and Florida, and my specialty areas include general wellness, chronic disease prevention, women's health, weight management, metabolic health, and oncology nutrition. And a huge part of my work really focuses on helping my clients build sustainable habits instead of chasing perfection, because I know that long-term health is not built on extremes. We need to find how these simple habits fit into your routine and your lifestyle. And through my own life and working with my clients, I know that focusing on those realistic routines and consistency over time is when we see the results we want. Outside of work, I love walking, boating, exploring coffee shops, and trying new recipes. So, as I mentioned, this will be a three-part series focused on making nutrition simpler, more flexible, and less overwhelming. So, here's kind of a brief overview of what the meal prep without the overwhelm will look like. In this first session, we are focusing on mindset, specifically reducing the overwhelm around food and nutrition. We're going to talk about busy schedules, stress around meals, progress over perfection, and how our thoughts around food directly impact our food choices and habits. In session two, we will shift into those more practical meal planning strategies, which I'm sure you all are excited about. I will walk you through a simple meal planning framework, how to build balanced meals, grocery shopping tips, and easy meal ideas that can simplify healthy eating. And then the final session, we will build on those strategies by discussing time-saving meal prep ideas, ways to create more consistency, and how we can use those convenient foods to make nutrition feel easier and more realistic, especially in the long term. The overall goal of this series is not perfection, but rather focusing on creating that sustainable approach to nutrition that works for your life. So, starting off today in session one, the purpose of this first session is to focus on reframing our mindset around food before we dive into those more practical meal planning strategies. The way we think about food, nutrition, and our expectations around our healthy eating and goals greatly influence our daily choices and habits. So, by first focusing on shifting our mindset, we can build a more supportive and realistic foundation that will make implementing those meal planning strategies that we talk about in session two way more manageable and sustainable for you. I think many of us can relate to feeling busy. So that's when we're going to talk about right now is the reality of busy schedules. We know that life is busy, and nutrition is one of the first things that often gets pushed aside. And while we know that life is busy, we also know that life may never fully slow down enough to make healthy eating feel super easy or convenient, which is why we're doing this workshop. Most people are balancing work, family responsibilities, appointments, social events, errands, and endless to-do lists. So by the end of the day, there is very little mental energy left to think about food and what's for dinner. When we are exhausted or overwhelmed, it is completely normal to default to those quick and easy or convenient food options. I know from working with my clients, this does not stem from a lack of motivation or discipline. It is simply the reality of being human and living a busy life. So first, We want to make sure that we are acknowledging these challenges because when we recognize these challenges of a busy schedule and the mental exhaustion as real barriers, we can stop blaming ourselves and start being realistic with developing nutrition strategies that work in each of your individual lives. As we work on reframing our mindset around food, one of the most important things to remember is it is completely okay to have an imperfect meal. Not every plate needs to be perfectly balanced, and nutrition is not determined by one salad or one bad meal. Health is built through patterns and consistency over time, not through the perfection of individual meals or days. And honestly, even as a dietitian, my meals are not perfect all the time either. So, what matters most about creating the small habits is what can you realistically repeat over and over again? Those consistent habits have a much greater long term impact than trying to eat perfectly for a few days and then burning out. So, give yourself grace during this process. Focus on building sustainable habits takes time. It also takes repetition and flexibility as well as patience. And this is all completely normal. So remember to give yourself some of that grace. And I know I've repeatedly mentioned small, consistent, sustainable habits. That will be a common theme, but that is truly the foundation of long-term success. We do not want to create something or implement something that we can only sustain for a short amount of time. We want to focus on building that long-term success. So what does small, consistent, sustainable habits actually mean? It means choosing those habits that feel manageable instead of overwhelming, like planning just a few meals ahead of time instead of mapping out an entire week. Maybe it's adding one more vegetable to your meals, or keeping an easy protein option on hand, or preparing simple foods that make busy days a little less stressful. So these small habits may seem simple, but when practiced consistently over time can lead to that meaningful, lasting change in those results that we ultimately want. So, like I said, today we're going to be talking about reframing our mindset around food. And so, resetting our mindset around food and nutrition is this important step that many individuals need to have instead of focusing on this all or nothing mindset. So, really focusing on shifting our mindset from strict, rigid rules to fueling and supporting our body. And when we make this mindset shift, our nutrition becomes a little less stressful and more sustainable. So here are some simple mindset shifts to practice. I'll just kind of go through a few of them here with you, but these are good things for you to kind of keep in mind when these certain circumstances or thoughts in our head come up. So, for example, instead of saying, I already messed up today, so I will start over tomorrow, try saying, one meal does not define my day. My next choice still matters. And that is the truth. Instead of, I'm too busy to think about what to eat, try, I may not have time for a perfect meal, but I can still make a simple choice that supports my energy and goals. And then one more just example would be instead of I have to meal prep, try I do not have to prepare everything. Even a little preparation can make my week life easier. And so that could be something as simple as washing your fruit, cooking rice ahead of time, or prepping a protein like grilled chicken. So keep this slide as a reminder of some mindset shifts to practice and kind of set that foundation for yourself as you implement these practical strategies. So to help explain why meals can feel so overwhelming, I like to think about what I call the mealtime stress equation. So the mealtime stress equation is mealtime stress is equal to high expectations, low time, and decision fatigue. So many people who are focused on their health and nutrition and have these goals, which are absolutely fantastic, tend to hold themselves to a very high standard around food while also managing packed schedules and mental exhaustion. This combination creates overwhelm very quickly, which is when we burn out or don't do anything at all. And so the three major contributors to the stress equation that I see are lack of time, poor planning, and decision fatigue. So first, lack of time is when schedules are packed, meals often become an afterthought. This can lead to skip meals or grabbing whatever feels easiest quickest in that moment. Second is poor planning. Without even a loose plan in place, mealtimes can become another stressful decision at the end of the day, especially when we're trying to meet specific nutrition goals. And a third factor of the stress equation at mealtimes is decision fatigue. Throughout the day, I know we all make countless decisions. And by the end of the evening, our brains are tired and deciding what to eat can feel mentally exhausting. That often leads to impulse eating, grazing, takeout, or choosing foods purely based on convenience. And so when we combine all these factors, food can really start to feel stressful instead of supportive. So what are some things that we can do that helps? Well, first, we can focus on lowering our pressure around meals, which I hope I helped you kind of get a jump start on this today about normalizing imperfect meals, the reality of busy schedules, and reframing that mindset around meals. We can also keep meals simple, which we will definitely discuss more in next session, as I will give you that simple 3-part framework to work on for building meals. We can work on creating a loose plan ahead of time. Maybe it's only having 1 or 2 meals, the ingredients for those meals ready that you could make in the evening time. Having some few easy go-to meals is also super helpful. Prepping a few basic in advance is also helpful. So these small systems can help reduce that decision fatigue and make healthy eating feel more manageable and also sustainable. So as we wrap up session 1, let's review a few of these key takeaways. So first, busy schedules, mental fatigue, stress around meals are all incredibly common, and you are not alone experiencing them. Even I do. Second, nutrition is about consistency over time, not perfection in individual meals or days. So we have to remember that. Third, when we focus on shifting your mindset from restriction and pressure towards nourishment, fuel, and support, that can make healthy eating feel far more sustainable for your life. And so we also want to be focused on those small, realistic habits that you can sustain, not over 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, but over 3 months, 6 months, a year, and your whole life, your lifestyle. And that is what truly matters. So I know I've continued to emphasize consistency, small changes, and sustainability, but that truly is the bread and butter of long-term success. And what allows us to actually integrate these strategies. We will discuss a little bit more in session 2 and 3 into your everyday life. So to leave you off today, you do not need to overhaul your entire routine, eating patterns, or anything like that overnight. The biggest goal of today's session was to reframe your mindset around nutrition and healthy eating to help set the stage for how we will implement these meal planning strategies we talk about in session 1 or session 2 and 3. So for today, I encourage you to choose one small habit to focus on this week, such as maybe it's meal planning 1 to 2 simple meals ahead of the week. Maybe it's prioritizing going to the grocery store so you have some healthy staples available for you. Maybe it's prepping one basic item like chopped vegetables to snack on, cooked rice, or that grilled chicken, washing your fruit, something like that. So before I leave you today, remember that small changes done consistently is what creates meaningful progress over time. Looking ahead to session 2, we will move into more practical meal planning strategies. So we will cover that simple meal planning formula I've talked about, reviewing guidelines for how to build a balanced meal, go through grocery shopping tips and quick meal prep ideas to help you kind of build a stash of easy, nourishing go-to meals for those real busy days. The goal is to help you simplify the process of healthy eating by giving you realistic tools that save time, reduce stress, and make meals and eating more enjoyable and sustainable, because that is what food and nutrition is all about. Thank you so much for listening to this first session in the Survivor Fitness Summer Series. I hope this session helped you feel a little less overwhelmed and reminded you that healthy eating does not have to be an all or nothing approach. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them. So please feel free to reach out through social media or by email. Thank you so much for being here and stay tuned for session 2.